This is actually so spicy that I thought I was going to turn my camera on for this, but my eyes went so big that I'm like, no. This is going to be an audio-only one. So Yoshi P is commenting about the nerfs to P8S and jobs being excluded from party recruitment, which is something that has been near and dear to this channel this past week, and probably the biggest red flag of all is the growing dissatisfaction with overly punishing degree of difficulty. And if the hair on your forearm stood up at that last comment just the same as mine, you are not alone. So you don't want to miss this because the insights are absolutely mind-blowing for both good and very concerning reasons. Yoshi P is going to start the letter by issuing an apology for both the disruptions caused by the balancing issue and for any offense caused from the initial explanation provided. If you are on Twitter or Reddit, you probably understand exactly where this apology comes from. Oh god. The first point that he's going to deep dive into is the reason for the HP adjustment, and he explains that the HP was roughly 1% too high compared to the difficulty of other final raids each tier. Undeniably, he says outright that he appreciates that players push themselves to learn their rotations, item levels, and optimize the fight mechanics to overcome it. He then states in big red two problems. The first is that certain jobs are being excluded from party recruitment and a growing dissatisfaction with the overly punishing degree of difficulty. I'm trying to keep commentary to minimum as I get through this, but with the second point, that's concerning the heck out of me, and I think that should concern a lot of people. I'm going to go back to this later. He stated that since the miscalculation was the root cause of these issues, that they decided that the best course of action was to adjust the HP value of that raid. Yoshi P even says that doesn't have much precedence, and he's right from my memory. This goes as far back as Gordius for the last nerf coming to my memory. I still remember squirming in Stormblood to Almagest, or was Whitehole. Gosh, I miss those times. And yes, I'm avoiding the obvious joke. That's unfortunately going to disappoint a lot of people. Now, the second point that he got into is the source of the miscalculation, and had 3 large points. And the first point is that the top percentages of players are overwhelmingly better at the game than they are. And this point scares me because my biggest hope is that people don't flame the devs for this. I'm going to get into it more later, but moving on. But because the player base is better than the developers, they add on some extra HP to the boss after checking out the fight, using actual in-game materia, consumables, and gears with various compositions. They're not using the dev console, they clearly stated. And I need a disclaimer that I'm joking going into the next statement, but what about the Machinist? Are you using the Machinist? I'm just joking, I'm joking. I love our devs, you know that. I'm gonna get comments saying, but do they love the Machinist? I don't know, guys. But as the devs are tuning the fight, they then take that team that is clearing the fight in-game material stuff without the dev console stuff, and then they are taking around 1 to 2% HP and adding that on top because they want players that they have already stated are above their own skill level to have a great experience too. Because no one really should, or it'd be really weird if you said, I want to queue into a Savage fight and just have it blow over. That would really kind of suck. So this is trying to make sure that they have a great experience too. He then further goes on, because the character of the raid battle is a major character, they wanted to make it a bit more of a challenge than usual, and so the team that they used to balance it out spent a ton of time designing, testing, going through the mechanics, and ultimately led them to getting good. So that little extra bit pushed that value over the top. And then that led into the third point about why adjust the duty balance rather than the job balance. Yoshi P then went into discussing that each job's numbers are impacted by mechanics and combinations of them during each battle, and not every job's numbers will be ideal during all battles. And going on, that broad job balance brought up with Warrior and Paladin was a large concern, and citing that this resulted in a situation where players were obligated to choose jobs with higher damage output when attempting the raid. Yoshi P then expanded that, saying to attempt to fix this by buffing certain jobs without making changes to the raid itself would impact overall balance within each role and likely result in disappointment for those whose jobs were already dealing sufficient damage for the raid and therefore received no adjustments, stating that unfortunately adjusting all the jobs in such a short time period is also not feasible. And that's fair. Game balance is actually very, very difficult, and I'll never say that it's easy, and so I totally get where they're coming from on that, unfortunately. End result is they figured out that the main root issue was balancing the duty, and they needed a quick fix that maintained the role balance. This ends with a conclusion where Yoshi P profusely apologizes towards those those who have been working diligently on the fight to clear it, and all of those who are disappointed, and that he deeply regrets having caused such disappointment. He states that he strongly wants players to continue to enjoy the fiercely challenging Savage fights. And in here he states something very interesting that I'm going to highlight here, that he will strive to better understand what players think about such issues and improve our operational protocols that might involve waiting a week before implementing fixes alongside details on their perspective, the developer's perspective, so that they may arrive at a solution that is more satisfying for everyone. So now it's time for my thoughts, and out the gate I have to say I'm the one that coined the phrase the developers are a blessing. I love Yoshi P and our dev team, and I really do think that they're a blessing, and this is why I'm here enjoying this game right now rather than at World of let's erase half the population and replace them with fruit bowls. And coming from a fruit, that speaks volumes. But during the entire job balancing part, all I could think was, okay, so Warrior and Paladin were regarded as needing emergency hot fixes, but Machinist, who doesn't bring utility or mobility abilities like Bard and Dancer do, alongside them having more damage than the Machinist, that same Machinist is not an emergency fix. And better yet, that buffing the Machinist would disrupt role balance. I know you can't see it, but I'm making a frowny face. I'm torn on this one, guys. See, I play and thoroughly enjoy all three: range, physical, DPS. I love Bard, love Dancer, and I love the Machinist, but I can't help but feel Machinist is left in the gutter to rot if this is the intended role balance. I just don't get it. Let's say that you have two choices behind the curtain. Pretend that you know nothing about those jobs. Choice one: you get no extra mobility abilities, no extra utility abilities, and you deal less damage. Or choice two is you do get extra mobility abilities, plenty of extra utility that honestly is very useful, and more damage. Which one do you choose? I'm going to be real. Outside of fun, I can't think of a single reason why someone would want to pick Machinist other than because of pure love of it, and I personally am one of those people. It's an Ashe from Overwatch, FF Edgar, or FF Tactics vibe. It is awesome, and the rotation feels tight, and it feels just so rewarding as a player. Until you look at the numbers, and then you're like, oh god, that felt so good to execute, but that really, really freaking sucks. The feeling is there, the numbers aren't. And I'm just at the point where I just don't feel this is fair. I'm hoping that though them talking about balance and future things and not all things could be done at once is that this means maybe in patch 6.25 Machinist is brought up or something, because right now when I'm flexing off onto a range physical DPS, I'm doing Dancer. Machinist isn't even on my brain. Let's cycle back to the developers saying that they needed to add extra HP onto the boss, because I know people will rip on this and the devs unfairly, which I think is just going to be so nasty and mean. Like, this is going to be like Mean Girls BS, and in fact, this is actually my genuine biggest fear in reading this article, and I pray to God that no one is this morbidly unkind to our developers. Please, please don't. If you need to say it in private, but please, for the love of God, don't say it to the devs. So, developers are first and foremost developers. They aren't streamers, and this is only one part of their job, and I don't want to hear anyone ever say that they should just be better, because I can already see people saying that BS. For our bleeding edge players, this is their full-time job, to execute content on camera or recording or however they go about it. This is how they pay their bills. This is how they pay for their health insurance. This is how they get to put gas into their car and make car payments. This is it. Creators like me, where I'm a full-time software engineer by trade and create content, are rare. Some are out there, but it is excessively rare because both of those fields are just incredibly demanding. It's hard to keep up in one and perform extremely well at the job. And that's really why you will never see me on a world first raid team. I'm doing 50, 60, sometimes 70, depending on the week, hours at a day job, and then I'm trying to do a video at night after work when I'm at home. Most friends who I know that are in my line of work would say that it's cool, but say flat out that it wouldn't be enough money to justify the stress on top of work. And honestly, with comments like this gem I'm popping on the screen completely censored out, I don't disagree, and I question why I'm even doing this. Guys, sometimes I'm just like, what the am I doing? Why am I coming home from work, stressing myself out, trying to do a video instead of like literally just watching Netflix and chilling all night? Like, why do I do this to myself? Why am I up at 6 in the morning doing this video right now? I've just been flat out inches away of quitting this many times. If it wasn't for the love of the game of and it's player base and it's developers. Like, but honestly, enough of me, sorry, tangent, but moving on. So when talking about our absolute bleeding edge top players, this is their full-time gig, and many of them don't have kids and spend quite literally a full-time job with the overtime preparing and grinding the content. And I would honestly, respectfully hope that they were better. If they weren't better, that would indicate a flaw with the game design, and it would be super weird. It would be unfortunate. I think the game would just be some linear, no-ceiling game, and that's not what I would want to play. So I don't think that it's right for people to pick at this and say, oh, the developers should just get better. What kind of developers do we have? The developers are insufficient, blah, blah, blah. Like, when you're comparing developers who obviously have to juggle multiple tasks to bleeding edge demographic of unmarried guys in their 30s who obviously have full cognitive functioning, go at this strategically, who also don't have kids and spend all day every day grinding this game out, you can't compare. You can't compete. And if you honestly could, that would mean skill expression just didn't exist in this game, and that it would be even worse for this game as a whole if that were true. Like, if we're just going by age, technically at like just getting into like my like late 20s now, or mid, or I don't know, like my brain has officially only just fully formed. Technically, I wish that I could believe that. We're talking about like whole ass like teams literally strategizing things, and it's like, oh my god, I would hope that they do better. So I hope that people don't get ripped into it for it, and I don't want to see that element go away. I think it would be worse for this game as a whole if we didn't have these aspirational content creators. But closing this up with a bow is I really, really hope, I hope to God that this doesn't lead to people ragging on the developers. I really don't, because that's just not fair or right at all. And reading this article, that is probably my biggest fear coming out of it.